The pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. This is the regular scheduled meeting for Thursday, June 20th, 2013. We do have a quorum for executive members, correct? Okay. So we call the meeting to order. We'll do quick introductions. I'm David Duran, Chair and Mayor of the City of Crown Point.
Ty Warner, Executive Director at Nursing.
Brian Snedeker, Mayor of the City of Hobart.
Blair Milo, Mayor of the City of Newport.
Jim Tunn, Chesterton Town Council. Kevin Breitsky, Porter County Surveyor.
Good morning, Karen Freeman Wilson, Mayor of the City of Gary.
Bob Overman and Tom Schmidt, Sherrill Town Councilman.
Bob Carnahan, Cedar Lake Town Council.
Jeff Benson, Beverly Shores Town Council.
Jeff Freeze, Burns Harbor Town Council.
Tom McDermott, Mayor Hammond.
John Baylor, Carroll Creek Town Council. Jeff Decker, Dyer Town Council.
Dave Schaefer, Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Munster.
Stan Dobas, Councilman, Town of Griffith.
Mary Thorne, Nurse Staff.
Ed Soliday, State Representative.
Roosevelt Allen, President, Lake County Commission.
Don Henson, Hebron Town Council.
Anthony Copeland, Mayor of the City of East Chicago. Dave Hollenbeck, Legal Counsel to Nursing.
Gabrielle Kunis, Nursing Staff. Angie Hayes, Nursing Staff.
Justin Mount, Regional Director for U.S. Senator Joe Downs' office.
Kathy Luther, Nursing Staff. Darcy McGee.
AJ Monroe.
Jim Morrell, Jim Pinkerton, Industrial Port District.
Stephen Sesteric, Nursing Staff.
Bill Brown, Nursing Staff. Alan Hammond, Nursing.
Victor Austin, Federal Transit Administration, Washington, D.C.
Joyce Dillon, Federal Highways Administration, Indiana Division.
Reggie Article, Federal Transit Administration, Regional 5, Chicago.
Teresa Torres, Everybody Counts. Peter Renee Jackson, Everybody Counts.
Rudy Velasco, everybody counts.
George Shanek, General Public.
Val Gomez, City of Chicago.
Chris Murphy, American Structure Point.
Rebecca Williams, Town of New Chicago.
Keith Benden, The Times.
Mitch Barlow, the Nursing Staff. Dan Gardner, Lake County Surveyor.
Jody Malcolm, Director, James River Basin Commission and Nursing Staff.
David Wright, Gary Public Transportation Corporation.
Kevin Garcia, Nursing.
Sarah Gnuski, Nursing.
Jim Nowacki, resident of the City of Gary.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. We'll begin with the report of the chair. Just have one announcement. I know over the last 30 days, we were trying to put together a subcommittee of NERC to meet and have an opportunity to talk about the public participation plan. And I'm happy to announce this morning that we have 5 NERC representatives who have volunteered to lead this subcommittee. Anthony Copeland, Karen Freeman Wilson, Jeff Benson, Michael Griffin, and George Van Til have all volunteered to be on this committee to take time and meet on July 2nd at 9 a.m. Where anybody who wants to attend, it's a public meeting. It's a workshop style. It's an open dialogue. I believe that's the date that everyone counts has agreed to as well. And anybody is welcome as commissioners to be on that. But as chair, I have appointed Mayor Copeland to chair that session that morning. He's taking the leadership role on that particular dialogue. And I appreciate the commissioners who have volunteered to be part of that. And if anybody else wishes to join that team, just let NERC staff know, and everybody's welcome to attend. And we've reassured everybody that nothing's going to come forward to this body until we get some type of dialogue and documentation from the subcommittee saying that that document has been ready to present in full to this body. And as they get information and they gather that information, they'll make sure they share that through the technical aspects of emails and communications and things like that to the commissioners. And that when it does come time to an appropriate vote or measure by this body, everybody will be on that same page. So I think that's a positive step that we've always had in this the position of NERC, the vision of being very transparent and open, and we're going to continue with that and look forward to the open dialogue and information gathering that will be led by the subcommittee. So Ty, anything you want to add to that?
No, just thank you for volunteering, those who volunteered to be on it. And again, July 2nd is an open meeting, and hope there's some good constructive feedback from it.
Yeah, we'll use all the means of communications that we do for all the meetings. It'll be publicly notified and put in the proper channels that way, so everybody has an opportunity to be involved. And again, July 2nd at 9 a.m.
So is it here?
Yes, it's here at this building, in this location. Okay. Also, next week, I know we're going to have the NERC Senate Day team out to Philadelphia for the national regional councils, and just wish everybody well and well represented about their time. And you would add to that as well?
Just looking forward to this last hurrah for Mr. Schaefer, who hands, I don't know if there's a gavel, but hands over his presidency of NARC at this next meeting. But it's been a great run to have Mr. Schaefer as the president of NARC over this past few years.
So we wish you everybody good luck and enjoy the event.
Hope to see everybody there.
So that'll conclude my report for this morning, and we'll go right into NERC certification review presentation.
We've got FHA, FHWA, and FTA, and if you could introduce yourselves again. And
Yes, once again, I'm Reggie Arkel from the Federal Transit Administration of Region 5, Chicago.
I am Joyce Newland, Federal Highway Administration, Indiana Division.
Good morning, Victor Austin, Federal Transit Administration, Washington, D.C.
Is the mic turned on?
Yes.
Well, let me just add, I think everybody can hear us, can you?
Yeah. There's no difference between the mic and you now, so.
Okay,
yes.
I'll make sure to speak loudly. Well, as you know, we've been doing a planning certification review of the...
Can you try it?
We've been doing a planning certification review of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And thank you so much to the NERC staff to assisting us with the responses to more than 200 written questions that they provided, and to accommodating us during the past 2 days during our review. And what we'd like to do now is just give you some of our general thoughts. First, I'll talk about from a transit perspective and general overall transportation. And Joyce Newland will then talk more some highway-specific items, and Victor Austin will wrap up our thoughts. First of all, we wanted to start off with a commendation. We commend NERC for its collaborative scenario planning efforts and completion of its 2040 comprehensive plan, focusing on sustainable growth and revitalization. Congratulations on receiving the 2013 Daniel Burnham Award for your efforts. It's refreshing to see planning that does not simply project past trends as a foregone determination of the future. As you know, the real challenge is implementation. Kudos also to NERC on its efforts to implement the plan through the Livable Centers Initiative and the Creating Livable Centers as a funding mechanism. One thing I'd like to do is before I go out on these reviews, is to look at some key metrics just to see how the urbanized area is doing. And I just wanted to share some thoughts about that with you. Especially from FTA's perspective, we have concern that there is truly a multimodal planning process in terms of an adequate overall transit system that is balanced with other modes. This relates to the planning factors of both economic and transportation system efficiency, promotion of energy conservation, environmental protection, and overall quality of life. And some of the things I base that on, and some of these statistics I think you're probably well aware of. The wealth index, or per capita personal income decline in the urbanized area on the Indiana side over the last 20 to 30 years has been pretty pronounced. And there's a number of contributing factors. Certainly jobs and industry loss are some of those factors. However, there's some other factors that are driven by local decision making. And one thing I noted is your urbanized area land uses, population densities have declined about 10%, and the clustering of the population about 10% between the last two decennials. And that's a key transit concern, because as you might expect, per capita transit ridership in the UZA has dropped about 17% over that 10-year period. We're also concerned that transit's only capturing about 2.5% of the commute share on the Indiana side of the urbanized area, where the Chicago MSA that's over 12%. Clearly, better coordination is needed between land use and transportation planning, and we hope and think that with this new transportation plan, you're on the way to doing that, but understand the MPO needs cooperation from the municipalities and the counties, and making sure you have transit supportive land uses so you can reverse some of those disturbing trends. Now, we do recommend, NERC is starting to make some inroads in showcasing some of their performance measures, and we support that and encourage some of those I mentioned and others. Our headquarters with Federal Highways, we will be coming out with further guidance. We encourage continued and improved collaboration with organizations such as Region 1 and the Northwest Indiana Quality of Life Council in tracking those metrics, and encourage you to link those measures more closely in the project selection process. Regarding congestion management process, we look to encourage you to improve transparency of that process. With the established CMP, you've certainly made some inroads in the last several years. And just encourage again transparency in that process and how you consider the various demand management alternatives. Regarding public participation and environmental justice, we like your bar charts in the plan comparing travel time by mode for the general population against areas with high proportions, minorities, and those with low incomes. That is a best practice, something we encourage all the MPOs, and we don't see a lot of that at the other MPOs. So thank you for that. We do have ongoing concerns about the complaints we've heard at our public meetings the last 2 days. And FTA and Federal Highway Administration, we need to confer further internally on how we think we need to document those concerns and convey them to you. So there will be more information on that forthcoming. One final thing I would say before I turn it over to Joyce. Demonstrated sincerity in addressing this issue, and in the spirit of the plan, NERC could make a good faith effort by relocating the MPO by a NICD transit stop to improve accessibility to the office. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again to your staff, Ty and Steve Street. We had a really nice visit with your staff. We are really impressed with the depth of your staff. You've got some really good talent on your team. Thank you again for preparing the responses to our questions. We know it takes time. We know you're doing lots of other things, but we come around every 4 years, and while we are here during those 4 years, it's always really nice to go back and review those documents in depth and look to see what has happened since the last certification review. I think one of the great improvements is the tip scoring process, and I think that's really reflective of a lot of initiatives that are tied to your 2040 comprehensive regional plan, and also the efforts that are going on with the what was the Transportation Enhancement Program, which is now the Transportation Alternatives Program, the TAP program. During the period of the 2009 certification review, you guys adopted a complete street ordinance, or a complete street policy, excuse me, and those efforts, along with the environmental justice efforts, are starting to be reflected in your project scoring, and we're really pleased to see that. And also, in addition, since the last review was Federal Highway's initiative to really push the ADA compliance and get the communities to have transition plans. And this is one of the requirements if you're going to use federal funds, that you have an ADA transition plan. NERC staff tasked Alan Hammond, I believe, with that, and came out, we gave workshops on it, their communities came out, and I believe all your communities pretty much have an ADA transition plan, excuse me. And so we're very happy about that. And that too is also starting to be reflected in your project scoring. So thank you. One of the things we'd like to call your attention to, and it's not a reflection of the staff's inability or the NERC's inability, it's just that there are some funds, as you know, we're in MAP 21, it's a 2-year bill, it will end in 2014. It's important that you identify projects for those funds by 2014 and get them obligated, or the funds will go away. So we just want to call your attention and make sure, encourage you to, get your funding, your projects selected for those various funding categories. That's, all your projects. I mean, CMAQ, SDP, your Highway Safety Improvement Program. We do have some concerns. I've enjoyed working with Bill Brown. Where is Bill? There it is. I have enjoyed working with Bill. I've been working with Bill since 1993, I believe it is, when the Clean Air Act and the first revised planning regulations came about and tied those two laws together. And I've been working with Bill, and I've enjoyed working with you. And you've always been very professional, very can-do. I know you've always been tagged with a lot of things, but Bill's always come through. But we are concerned that with Bill's departure, that you have several things in the works. One being your new tip. I'm not going to try to get into the specifics of the air quality issues because I know everybody's eyes always glaze over. But you are coming to a situation where EPA has. I didn't wear my regular glasses today. EPA has issued new air quality budgets, and NERC needs to make a conformity determination to the new budgets. And right now, there's a coordination effort going on with NDOT and some things, just a little computer glitch, basically. But it's really important that you have an exempt, a tip loaded with exempt projects ready to go. So we're really encouraging you to get that to go, and then hurry up and get your next tip as soon as you get your emissions factors from NDOT, that you move forward with that, because you're going to be lapsed for any type of projects you want to amend into your plan and your tip. You won't have no expansion projects can be amended in until the conformity determination is done. Just really hope that you get somebody as valuable as Bill in, and I saw the shoes, so those are going to be big shoes to fill. And so you'll be missed definitely by us reviewers, so thank you. And then the last thing we have a real concern is your ITS architecture, Intelligent Transportation System architecture. Back in, I think it was 2005 was the last time NERC updated that. And we noted that in the 2009 review, and we are now noting it again. So we have a concern that that has not been completed. That's all I have to say right now.
Good morning. My name is Victor Austin. I'm with the Federal Transit Administration in the Office of Planning and Environment, Washington, D.C. I just want to say that I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I think it's been a really exciting and productive 2.5 days of review. I know that I have really learned a lot. And what I'm going to speak to briefly is the new transportation bill, moving ahead for progress for the 21st century. MAP 21, as it's commonly referred to, creates a streamlined, performance-based, and multi-modal program for enhanced transportation decision-making through statewide and metropolitan planning. As you know, on July 6, 2012, President Obama signed into law this new transportation bill called Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century. MAP 21 includes a number of significant provisions that impact not only MPOs, but providers of public transportation and state DOTs. These provisions include the introduction of a performance management framework and the requirement that metropolitan planning organizations organizations that serve transportation management areas include representation by providers of public transportation. I would like to say regarding the requirement of transit representation on MPO boards, FTA and FHWA were developing guidance relative to that requirement. Let me just mention that we've had an online dialogue to get everyone's comments on this new requirement. And what I'd just like to share with you is that we had an online dialogue for approximately a month from March, I believe it was March 4th through the first week in April. And we had 340 registered users for that online dialogue regarding the new requirement of transit representation on MPO boards for TMAs. We had over 3,000 website visits. We had 106 ideals submitted. So what we're doing is we're gathering all this information, analyzing it, and we will be coming out with guidance on that later this year. Under the highway title, MAP 21 establishes 7 national goals and directs the Secretary to establish, through rulemaking, 12 performance measures and standards with respect to bridge and pavement conditions, safety, congestion mitigation, and mobile sources, and the performance of national highway and interstate systems. FHWA is working with FTA to draft 3 notice of proposed rulemaking, which propose these performance measures and standards will be published over the coming year. Under the transit title, MAP 21 also establishes 2 performance-based programs, one for transit asset management and one for public transportation safety. FTA is currently drafting advance notice of proposed rulemaking on the transit asset management system, which should be published later this year. I'd also like to mention that we're working with FHWA to develop guidance on MAP 21, and what we will do is we publish an advance notice of proposed rulemaking, and that's usually out for comment between 30 and 90 days to get your input on that. We collect those comments, we respond to every single comment, and then we develop final guidance. So you will have an opportunity to participate in what I think is a very important process. Again, just to wrap up, I've been really excited to come to this area and participate in this review. As I mentioned earlier, I learned a lot. I'm very thankful to Ty and his staff for all the hard work that they put into answering some of the questions that we've had. And I'm looking forward to coming back in 4 years and continuing the process. So thank you very much.
Commissioners have any questions of the attorney?
I wasn't able to testify, but I would just like to say that NERC supported legislation, and Ed is from our legislative body, and I thank them for passing legislation. Prior to this legislation and NERC's support of it, towns like Cedar Lake had no representation here at this NERC board. And I'm part of the full commission. We have an executive board here, and when they are assembled here, they give everyone the opportunity to speak up and say what's on their mind. So I would like to commend the NERC board and all the communities that have a chance to participate.
Thank you. I might add too that the comment period on the certification review will take comments up to August the 18th. And comes past that date a few days, we'll still take them. So, but thank you again, and we should have our report out by September, early October.
Dave.
Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate the constructive criticism, but that NERC is receiving, we're taking a good thing and trying to make it better. We need that kind of feedback in this format. 2 points I'd like to make, though. As president of NARC, I've traveled not only to NARC conferences, but also to some state and regional conferences of transportation professionals. And I've received numerous compliments from those professionals about the excellent work that NERC is doing in the arena of transportation planning. And it's not just those kinds of comments at conferences that I hear, but other agencies. NARC has granted an award, or have granted awards to NERC for their excellence in planning. The American Planning Association and other agencies have done the same. Matter of fact, there's a whole wall full of tangible recognition of our efforts that you can all take a look at on your way out. I think that's an important thing, that we do have an excellent reputation, literally nationwide, for the excellence that we're practicing. Second point is that everybody in this room is aware that we can't make 100% of our customers happy 100% of the time. Impossible. But the important thing is that when NERC receives a comment, we address it. And if an accommodation can be made, we grant it. If it cannot be made, then we try to explain why that cannot happen. We're always receptive to those kinds of comments. Any comments that result from a listening session that NERC conducts are usually reduced to writing so that every commissioner either receives a copy of those comments from a public listening session, or at least has access to that synopsis. And that's very important that we receive that kind of information before we, as an NPO, set about the decision-making process. So, again, appreciate the feedback from the FHWA and FTA.
Anything else?
I just wanted to have the opportunity to, well, Victor, welcome to Northwestern Indiana, and Joyce and Reggie, and also to convey thanks to Pam and Jay. I honestly did not know what to expect for this process, but I can honestly say it was a delight. And educational for me as well. It was a great opportunity to see laid out all the things that NERC does, and I continually every day find out more that we do that I didn't even know that we do. Staff is doing quite a bit, and that was reflected in the answer to the, I know we keep talking about this, but the 255 questions I think we responded to, which was great because that was part of the process of spelling out what we do. So I just want to thank you for the last 2.5 days. It was an education, and appreciate your involvement. And one of the things that got mentioned at the first public hearing too that I can't reemphasize enough is just how much we appreciate the partnership with federal agencies, that this is indeed a partnership, not a top-down type thing or a removed kind of relationship. We want to be involved and be active and be constantly in touch. So appreciate the relationship building that we've done in just this time period.
Thank you again for being here this morning. We'll move on, keep us on schedule here. We'll start with the approval of the minutes that took place on May 23rd, 2013. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have a discussion. There is one, the ending time. I believe the ending time says we ended at 11 a.m. We started at noon, so unless it was that long of a meeting next day, which almost felt like, but yeah. So can we have a motion to amend the time on that? And a second. Any other discussion, add-ons, deletions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor with an aye? Aye. Against? The ayes have it, thank you. We'll go right into the Finance and Personnel Committee. Blair?
The F&P Committee met earlier this morning, and first up we have one budget amendment to recommend, that I will make the motion to recommend to this body to add funds in the amount of $1,902 that come from the state of Indiana's unclaimed property division. And we want to be able to add that into general fund under the line of communications from the Commission and Executive Director. Certainly want to recognize the efforts made by Commissioner Schaefer that he was able to uncover these funds, and so I will make the motion to add the $1,902 to the Communications Commission and Executive Director line item.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by an aye.
Aye.
Against, the ayes have it.
And then as an update, we discussed the office lease spacing that I think all of the commission members have received a cost comparison sheet that now provides I think a more detailed sort of apples to apples comparison of the 3 site locations that were provided at the last meeting. The F&P committee this morning had a couple more questions that they wanted to drill down into to clarify for the commission, so that then we're making sure that we're presenting the best options forward for the F&P policy, F&P committee to review, and then ultimately for the full commission to make a decision. So we are going to get some further clarification and then hold a special Finance and Personnel Committee meeting on July 9th at 1:30. All members of the commission are invited to participate in that meeting, and the hope is to be able to come away from that meeting with a recommendation to be able to make to the full commission on a site location that then will be decided by a weighted vote. But again, the date will be July 9th at 1:30. Welcome any commission member to attend. That's my update on that process.
Thank you. So everybody know that, July 9th, that was 1 p.m.?
1:30.
1:30.
We don't want to cut into anybody's lunch hour.
I got you. And it's going to be here, right?
It will be here, yes.
Okay. Thank you for your report.
Yes.
We'll move it on to the consent agenda, and we have the Environmental Management Policy Committee. Kevin?
We're not going to have a meeting July 4th. I hope you all understand. That's a regularly scheduled meeting. However, we will have our next meeting August 1st. Mr. Benson, did you have anything to add?
I don't think so.
That'll be our report.
We'll move on to the Transportation Policy Committee.
I'll take that. Okay. Mr. Chairman, the Transportation Policy Committee met on June 11th. We have 2 actions for consideration today. Congestion management process is currently being used to evaluate alternatives to the proposed Ileana Corridor project. The staff and the project team, led by Parsons Brinkerhouse, are coordinating the study. The first action is the adoption of the Transportation Alternatives Program and the Surface Transportation Program Group 1 project rankings. Ms. Barloga will explain the action.
Thank you, Stan. Good morning. On page 11 of your agenda packet. Thank you, sir.
I never thought I needed one.
Thank you. Page 11 of your agenda packet, you'll see the resolution pertaining to the approval of the recent Transportation Alternatives Program and Surface Transportation Program, the rankings. They are listed in detail on page 13 of your packet. To highlight those projects which have been approved, recommended for approval by the Pedal Panel Committee and the Transportation Policy Committee, under the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP, the top 3 included the town of Chesterton with their Westchester Liberty Trail, the town of Griffith, who is partnering with Lake County Parks Department on the Oak Savannah Trail extension to the Erie-Lackawanna Trail, a long-awaited and long-needed connection between those 2 regional routes, and the city of Hammond receiving funding to begin the work of extending the Marquette Greenway from the Hammond Marina vicinity into Calumet Park, Chicago, and completing a bi-state connection of the Marquette Greenway on our western side. We only had 1 safe routes to school proposal, which we have recommended for approval in the city of Gary at Marquette Elementary School for sidewalks. And we funded 1 project for STP1 consideration in the town of Cherville. This would effectively complete the Pensy Greenway from downtown Cherville into Munster, and of course all parts northwest into Chicago. That is what's before you right now.
Okay, so we'll need a motion on resolution 13-12.
Yes. The TPC recommends adoption of 1312.
Do we have a motion from the executive board?
You do.
Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by an aye.
Aye.
Yes, the ayes have it.
Thank you. The second action is the adoption of the Complete Streets Design Guidelines. Mitch Barloga again will explain this amendment.
Thank you. Page 14 of your packet highlights the other resolution for consideration here. The Complete Streets policy has been mentioned already by Joyce Newland on Federal Highway as an outstanding example of progressive planning. We are one of the few MPOs in the state of Indiana that actually has approved the policy of complete streets. At that time, back in 2010, when this was done, we had told the region in general that we would have some guidelines for the sign. What do complete streets means, and so on and so forth. We worked on that for the last couple of years. However, in 2012, the Active Transportation Alliance out of Chicago put out a comprehensive, to say the least, manual on all complete streets policies and design guidelines. And that manual, I believe, was forwarded to the commission back when this was originally approved by the Transportation Policy Committee for approval back in April. It pretty much gives guidance to all communities regarding the family of complete streets option that's available at all levels of urban density or any kind of land use density in that case. So it does a great job in covering the A to Z's of complete streets. And there were a couple of amendments that were added to this manual. It was a manual that was supposed to be a public domain document that any community anywhere in the United States could adopt. But on page 16 of your packet, there are a few amendments that we wanted to reassure our regional sponsors. Of most importance is the fact that some of the complete streets design guidance does conflict with the NDOT design manual. We made that clear in number 3 that we will not mandate any design change to a trivial project for emergency that would be in conflict with NDOT. That's just common sense. We just want to make sure we had that in writing before our sponsors. Of course, it is our understanding too that we would hope that this manual will in turn serve to amend the NDOT design manual to try to keep up with the continuing upgrades to complete streets design and policies that are occurring rapidly over the last several years here across the country. So that is what's before you right now, and I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions on this.
Do we have any questions of this resolution, Commissioner?
Hearing no questions, the Transportation Policy Committee recommends adoption of this resolution 1313.
Do we have a motion by the executive board to adopt 1313?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by an aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
The staff will host a workshop on July 22nd to update the regional intelligent transportation system architecture. We encourage technical staff from the counties, cities, and towns to participate and help to develop the integrated system for electronic communications among the ITS elements in the region. Please contact Kevin Garcia if you have any questions. The next Transportation Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for 9:00 a.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, and this completes my report. Thank you.
All right, moving on, Land Use Committee report. Mr. Richard, anybody hear the reports? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. The Land Use Committee met on May 22nd of last month. We had a number of activities and presentation happen in this meeting. The first one was an update on the Livable Centers initiatives, and that's the project that was initiated by NERC. We are meeting with the communities in Northwest Indiana, try to define the livable centers and neighborhood centers within their downtown area or neighborhood. So we met with the 15 communities, and we're still going to meet with more communities. And the reason we're doing this project because it will be related to a new funding program, CLC, or Creating Livable Communities, We were able to identify 400,000 for 2 years out of the STP funding, or Surface Transportation Program funding, to pursue planning, especially in the downtown area and redevelopment area. The next activity was the 2040 Priority Development Area. NERC had a set of analysis for land suitability for future land development. And in that, we consider the environmental assets, infrastructure, and also the vacancy rate in some area, and we made recommendation of where is the best future development should go. So we had a presentation related to that. Also, we had a presentation from the redevelopment director from East Chicago, Maria Becerra. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And that was a very good presentation showing how they encourage home ownership, and they got some program and help from HUD, and also they provide some incentives, and that's increased also the home ownership in East Chicago. Very good program. So many municipalities are interested in that, and they asked her to come and present it to their commission. So that was all we had for the Land Use Committee.
Thank you. We'll move on to Legislative Committee. Tom?
Mr. Mayor, and I imagine getting together sometime during the summer to discuss the 2014 strategy.
Thank you. Local Government Assistance Committee, either Don or Jeff.
The Local Government Assistance Committee and the Towns and Small Cities Group, chaired by Bob Schaefer, met, don't remember, May 30th, I believe, at 9 a.m., and has decided, with the help of NERC staff, to essentially combine those two groups back into one entity titled the Local Government Assistance Committee. We had a very good meeting. Representative Soliday was there. A couple people from IAC were there. I'd encourage any municipality or representatives, you don't have to be a NERC official to attend. Our next meeting, we'll meet every month that has a fifth Thursday, so August the 29th at 9 a.m., I expect, will be our next meeting here at the NERC offices. And although we don't have an agenda set, the idea is to help local governments figure out how to navigate the waters. So,
thank you, Jeff. I'll move right to the report. Northwest Indiana Economic Development District, Roosevelt Allen.
Good morning. A meeting was held with Mr. Warner on April 19th, and it was decided at that meeting that we should have an in-person meeting over in Chicago with Jeanette DeMaio, who is the Regional Director of the Economic Development Administration. That meeting, the participants in that meeting would be Mr. Tyson Warner, myself as President of the Northwest Indiana Economic Development District, Mr. Mark Massel, who was the President of the Northwest Indiana Forum. And the reason that we want an in-person meeting, we heard that the EDA is extremely reluctant to accept applications for a new district status. And so we want to go over and meet with them in person, because we've completed all of our requirements for the EDA, and the scope of our initial grant, the planning grant, is complete. We're trying to get an operations grant, a 3-year operations grant. On June 19th, we're going to meet with a CPA firm to have an accounting review of our financial transactions. We don't, the EDA doesn't require us to have an audit, because we have very few financial transactions, and so they're going to allow us to do an accounting review as required by the grant. That report will be made public upon completion of the review. Another question that we have for the EDA, we have talked to several areas of the state that have that have economic development districts, but they don't have district status. But the units of government in those areas have been able to receive EDA grants because their projects are part of the SAIDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Our SAIDS has been approved by the EDA, and so we are concerned about whether they will accept the grants that have been submitted by units of government in our region. And several communities have applied for EDA assistance. Gary has a planning grant for the University Park project. Purdue Cal, in partner with Hammond Development Corporation and the City of Hammond, has applied for a Public Works and Infrastructure grant for a new commercialization center. And there are other projects and applications that are down at the EDA that are included in our SAIDS, and so we need to meet with the EDA officials in person to get directives from them. You know, it's often good to have an in-person meeting in their office so that we know exactly what our standing is with the EDA. I just want to also say that communities can submit projects to be included in the SAIDS on our website. The website has been up and running, and a copy of the completed SAIDS is available for review from that site. Well, the deadline for submitting public works grants that has passed. That was June 13th. And those public works grants, as I indicated earlier, they require a 50% match. Technical and planning and assistance grants, those can be submitted at any time. It seems that the federal sequestration is seriously affecting the EDA budget, and you know, the EDA continues to operate under an extended congressional resolution. The next meeting of our SAIDS committee will be announced after we have the scheduled meeting with Janet Tamayo in Chicago, and that meeting is going to be on the morning of June 28th. The Northwest Indiana Economic Development District, we are very concerned about whether or not this district status designation will affect our ability to procure an operation, a 3-year operations grant. So I guess we will be able to get more clarity on June 28th when we go over to the EDA office and have the in-person meeting with the officials over there. And that, anything else I want to? I think that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to INDOT, Mr. Alderman.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. INDOT right now is going through some internal changes. The capital program and the construction section in each one of the districts have been merged together. They now report directly to central office. They're no longer part of the district manpower. I will continue to be your advocate for this area as this process goes forward. The person who is in charge of this new section locally is Angie Fagares, which I'm sure most of you know. Probably the most appropriate person in the world, but really a person who is very intense in how they do their job. So I think that's a great selection. NDOT continues to look at other issues internally, and this move with the capital program and construction was to create a consistent process. Each one of the districts seemed to have a different process in how they submitted projects. We just felt that there was a better way of doing business than how we were doing business now. As you know, Commissioner Klein has resigned and is going to Purdue University. I assure you I have no interest in living in Indianapolis, so you're still stuck with me. After 29 years, I don't want to renew my lease down there. We have a number of projects going on. We're working with a number of the locals. For one, we're looking at other things. Mayor Copeland, we continue to have a lot of interaction with Mayor Copeland. Been an incredible partner for us. Other than that, I have the Jim and Jim Road Show for the Ileana, and if I may allow them a few seconds just to give you an update of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Sure. I just wanted to kind of recap. This week we had our latest round of public meetings on the Culver project. The one in Lowell attracted about 246 people, and we had about a 2.5-hour question and answer session where we responded to 76 different questions about the project and where it stands and those sort of things. We had a big, like in past meetings, a big conference room set up, or a gymnasium set up with maps and things like that, so people can really get a chance to see how the alignment has been revised as this process has been going on. The next big thing that's coming up for the public is our public hearing, which will be in the fall, probably in October-ish. We'll get a date to you guys as that gets closer. But that's the point where we'll present all the preferred alignments that we'll be submitting as part of the Tier 2 process to Federal Highway. That'll happen later on this fall, and then we'll submit that for record of decision, hopefully get that in early 2014. The other big thing we have going on next week is an industry forum where we will be talking with potential investors for the toll project. So that'll help us kind of get a feel for the interest in the project as far as financing goes. But that's a big step for us as these parallel paths of the Tier 2 study continue on. We're continuing to work, as Mr. Dobo said, with the Transportation Policy Committee. We presented with them last week the tools that we're going to use, and kind of went through the process for congestion management. We continue to work with the technical staff here on a regular basis to make sure that goes the way that everybody's going to be comfortable with the numbers and stuff as that goes on. But that's the 1.5-minute version of what's going on with Ileana right now.
Jim, you might tell them where the industry forum is going on.
It's going to be at the Stevenson Conference Center up in Rosemont, and it'll be Monday and Tuesday. The big day with all the speeches and everything is Monday, and then Tuesday is really more one-on-one with the potential investors. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Alderman. In Lake County, we have had some bridge problems with, allegedly, with Superior Construction. We had the problem at Martin Luther King Drive, that bridge. Also, there is another bridge in South Lake County. I can't recollect the bridge number, but allegedly there are some problems there. And then most recently, there is the airport bridge. There were some problems that are still being resolved between Superior Construction and the County Highway Department. The Highway Department is reluctant to accept the bridge because of some problems. And I was just wondering, how does Superior, what process or protocol do they use that they keep getting the contracts to do these NDOT bridges?
This is the company, Superior,
Superior Construction.
The bridges, unfortunately, in at least some instances, we're required to award projects based on low bid. if they're doing inferior work, we certainly want to know about it. If you will send us send me an email to outline in detail what bridges you're talking about. I'll be more than happy to have the bridge people take a hard look at it. I'm not very soft on anyone not doing what they're being paid to do. I think these guys sitting behind me will be more than happy to tell you that in more than one circumstance, I've called out contractors and other people about what I thought was shoddy workmanship. I've completely revised the process for how we sign off on projects, because all too often in the past, we've had projects that were just constructed that a year later we're in doing maintenance on it. There's something wrong with that process. Basically, I'm saying to everyone in pre-final inspection, when you sign your name on this form, you're responsible for the condition of this asset that we have. If there's a flaw in it, you got a problem. And so, yeah, send me what you have, we'll take a look at it. The price that we're paying, we're not buying junk. It's very simple, and we'll be more than happy to look at it.
I had a statement and a question. First off, I want to thank Mr. Alderman. It seemed like for a long time we would make complaints, especially this time of year with the grass growing the way it is, and the interchanges have a tendency sometimes to get ignored. We had a situation in Hammond where with all the rain and the hot weather closely thereafter, we would literally have 3-4 foot high grass. I contacted Mr. Alderman, and he had people out there right away taking care of it. In fact, he indicated that he was more willing than, in my opinion, than in the past to put forth a more aggressive schedule for mowing as well. And I wanted to thank him for that. I know we all say it here, but I've noticed a difference, a big difference in NDOT since he's taken over, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that before I asked that question.
We like it, dude.
I just wanted to start off on the right foot. So. No, and I'm not trying to cause problems. I was at the, I guess it was Riley Road at the bridge the other day, and the bridge was up, and I was sitting there waiting for it to go down so I could use the Klein Avenue detour, and I looked over at the bridge, and it's all down now. I don't see any work being done. I don't see the new bridge getting built yet, and I didn't know if we hit a snag on the Klein Avenue toll option, or if it's not moving forward, and if it's not moving forward, if there's any other plan in place.
It is moving forward. We've invested, as the mayor, I'm sure the mayor would say, a great deal of money in the Dickey Road Bridge. The new bridge is never going to move as fast as everyone would like it to. We think we gave Mayor Copeland back, when we gave him the Dickey Road Bridge back, we spent a large sum of money in order to bring the bridge up to par. It's still an old bridge. I think it's functioning well now, is it not, Mayor?
Yes, and not only did you give us the bridge back, you gave us the 4 bridge attendants back that are now on our payroll. So it is moving. That was part of the agreement that we wouldn't take it back unless the deal was closed on Klein Avenue.
Right.
I take it as it's a done deal.
The Klein Avenue bridge is a done deal.
Yes. Because we wouldn't have took Riley.
Right. Is there a deadline, like when it's supposed to be done, so that we can start making plans in Hammond? We get a lot of that traffic.
The last thing I knew was that there was some swapping of some lands that had to be done, some wetlands, and that was the last crucial point.
Okay.
I'm looking for any month now that the permitting and stuff starts.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mayor, I spoke with Chris Kiefer yesterday about this great topic. My understanding is most of the contracts for the land exchange, if not all, will be completed by Friday. We're looking at bid letting or moving forward in next month. So,
do they have any idea what the tolls are going to be on that?
No. We had, when we first started, Mayor, we had some estimates of where they were going to fall, but I don't think that's.
I haven't had a concrete number. It seems like everything is hovering around $250 but nothing is carved in stone, so that's why I don't want to throw it out there.
But is that, I mean, are they gonna charge just one way, like a lot of bridges do, or is that both ways?
I think most tolls go both directions, man.
I guess that's true. A lot of bridges do, but.
It doesn't pertain to anybody, but it pertains to bridges. I heard a disturbing newscast this morning where they're building bridges out east and they're gonna buy all the steel in China.
Sad. It's one bridge, it's the Verrazano Bridge in New York, that they bought Chinese steel.
Anybody else have any questions of transportation with concerns with INDOT? Mr. Alden, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Valuable information, thank you. Any other business that needs to be brought in front of the executive board this morning? Hearing none? Okay, we'll open opportunity for public comment. Mr. Bitter? Yes.
Good morning, my name is Jim Nowacki. I'm a resident of the city of Gary. Last month I attended the NERC meeting, and I was very critical of the 1220 project, the traffic hazards that have been created at Broadway and 1220, and the conditions of the sidewalks and curbs that have been installed all up and along Fifth Avenue. I continue to be critical of the details regarding those sidewalks. I'm glad that the state did take care of the what I considered a life-threatening hazard that the road work created at Broadway, which is a very busy intersection in our city. But when I spoke with the contractors, and they said that the sidewalks had no specifications and that they could just put them in any old way they wanted, I found that unacceptable. When I talked to Mr. Edelman earlier in the meeting, he chastised me and said, we don't have to put those sidewalks in at all. Well, I consider that reprehensible, particularly in light of the resolutions you passed today, 1312, 1313, regarding complete streets and livable communities. Also regarding the work that you're doing for the for alternate transportation. When we look at sidewalks, you know, we have a group here, Everybody Counts, doing great work. I think we have to start a new organization, Nobody Counts.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, yeah. Because when we talk about even simple things like the crosswalks at every intersection in the city, they're incomplete. Incomplete. There's not another community in Northwest Indiana, and I would challenge any executive or any of the planning professionals who are here to compare the work that's been done on Fifth Avenue in downtown Gary with work that's done in any other community in Northwest Indiana. Whether it's creating tripping hazards, whether it's not doing the complete work of the crosswalks, whether it's creating mud holes along busy urban areas. Mr. Edelman, this project, I'm sure it's very good for the transport, for the people who are driving through our city, 40, 50 miles an hour. But for the people who live in the city and have to use those sidewalks, it's unacceptable. And I don't consider it an acceptable excuse to say, we didn't have to do that, we did it as a favor, or to say this wasn't specified so they can put it in any old way they want. People have to use these sidewalks, and there's a responsibility to make sure that these sidewalks are adequate, usable, and not a hazard in our city. I'm going to continue criticizing this project, particularly these sidewalks, as I advocate for having sidewalks installed. And we have a petition out, 400 people signed for sidewalks along Route 20 between Clay Street and Lake Street. That's another fine project that we need, but what you've done in Lake Street, on Fifth Avenue, and it's already in. I'm going to relate one other short story. When I talked with the contractor, there's a particular detail at 5th and Broadway that I've got a personal interest in. and I wanted to bring it to attention so that it would be addressed adequately. He said, well, we'll do it this way, and then we'll leave the bricks out, and you can come back and put them in yourself. Well, I thanked him for that. I says, make provision for it, and as a citizen, I'll go out and I'll do it myself. But shouldn't we be a little ashamed that the road work is not going to, that it's not going to be complete, and that citizens have to go out and do it themselves? Mr. Edelman, thank you.
If I may.
Absolutely.
You know, my parents named me Alderman, so let's start off with that. 12 and 20. My responsibility on 12 and 20, as in every other city, is curb to curb. I maintain the pavement. This was a project that we incorporated curb, sidewalk, because we thought, yeah, we should do this. The curb, yes, no question, it's high. It's also meant to deal with the drainage issues so that you don't have all that runoff. We spent a lot of money on this project to do it right. So if you want to criticize me for trying to make a positive contribution to the city of Gary, I appreciate the criticism. The reality of it is I'm spending more money than I have to spend in Gary, a lot more money. If there's problems, number one, the contractor works to spec, to a very specific standard. So whatever he told you, if it's beyond the standard, he's lying to you, okay? Not every contractor out there is the same. I stand by the amount of money that we're spending there as we're spending throughout the district. We're trying to have a positive impact on the city of Gary, and I don't apologize for that at all.
Yes.
Renee Jackson. Ooh, I get to sit at the big folks table. I have a question. At the last meeting, several of us that have transportation brought several disabled citizens here to this meeting, and they had the police called on them. Attorney Roy Dominguez had asked the mayor of Portage for an apology, and he refused. And he also sent a copy of the letter to the board president. And I was just curious as to why an apology was not given, because some of our citizens were kind of rattled by that. One is in the hospital now, and several refused to come back because of that, having the police called on them. It kind of bothered them. So you got us steadfast soldiers, we're gonna be here regardless. But several of our constituents, they got really bothered by that. And I was wondering just why the refusal was not given, why the apology was not given.
I think the apology was asked from the mayor, and I think the mayor chose to respond as he chose to respond. We're not in a position to make the mayor of Portage do anything.
Well, a copy was sent to the board president also, under my understanding. So, you know, why wouldn't the board apologize? Because you let him do it, you know.
Well, first of all, the mayor of Portage has a responsibility to his community. And again, I'm not going to speak for Mayor Schneider and his positions on that. As the chair of this body, and I have 13 years as a law enforcement professional in the city of Crown Point before I became mayor. When I walked into this room that morning, when we were trying to do an executive session, it was initially brought to my attention and saw with my own eyes that the group that was assembled here was not going to leave because they weren't properly notified it was an executive session. That on its own, okay, probably prompted the mayor to interact with law enforcement to make sure that there was not a hostile situation. Not to say there was one, to prevent one from happening, whether it was protection for yourself and your group or protection of the commissioners here. That's a determination based on each and everybody's own thought process. One may think that you weren't going to cause a problem, there could have been concerns for other people with officers' presence here, calms them down. I don't, it's a very subjective atmosphere. So I can't speak for the mayor. He's responsible for his community. He's responsible for any action that may take place in his community, whether it's this body, whether it's any other business or gathering in his community. His thought process is his. And again, that meeting, as the chair, we talked about the atmosphere that day, and we welcomed everybody to be here. And I actually went out in the hallway to meet with several of the visitors that were here to make sure everything was fine. And they indicated to us, and there was no interaction between the police officers and any visitors here in a very hostile situation. So it actually calmed things down. So the measure, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, allowed everybody to conduct business that day and walked out of here safely. Whether you felt threatened or not, that we can't determine that for you, okay? But other people probably felt it was a controlled atmosphere. So that's all I can say. If you're offended by it, we apologize for that. That was not the intention. The intention was to make sure that we had a safe, conductive meeting, that people could walk into these doors and feel that they can be heard, and a meeting could be handled in a professional manner and able to go home afterwards. And that's all the intent was. It wasn't here to intimidate or allow people not to want to stay here, have the ability to talk. We made specific promises to everybody that day that topic would be tabled, which it was. We made provisions for a special subcommittee to come out and form to have opportunity to meet with everybody. That's been scheduled for July 2nd. And so, again, the process worked. But when you see signs, or you see interaction or interruptions of meeting, that person and myself might not feel threatened by that, but there might be other people in the room that aren't going to come out and voice that. Having an officer present in a meeting, it's not uncommon. A lot of city council meetings, a lot of town council meetings, a lot of public meetings. When you have a large gathering, have law enforcement there, not because they're there to intimidate, just to make sure people feel it's a comfortable, safe environment, whether anything ever takes place. It's usually the norm. So, if you felt threatened by it, we apologize. That's not our intention. We want you to be here. We welcome you here. We're absolutely happy that you're part of the process and here this morning.
Thank you.
We're going to get a mic for you so everybody can hear.
Chairman Duran, you implied that a meeting was disrupted. As I recall, sir, there was no interruption of your meeting. We shared with your attorney. We were specifically notified that the meeting would begin at 9 a.m. to discuss the public participation plan. And that's why we were here. No one did not agree to leave. There was no interaction. There was no disruption of a meeting. I'm not quite sure what 4 people in walkers and canes and a blind guy was going to do to y'all, but if you needed to have 1 officer for every 2 people, then when we come back with 30, you're going to need a lot of police. If this body is that intimidated by a group of senior citizens who carry signs that say, listen to us, we are the people. So I just want to clarify, I don't appreciate your saying in front of these federal officials that a meeting was interrupted, because, as you know, it was not. Once you clarify that, in fact, we've been given bad information and that meeting would not begin until later, everyone left quietly, sat in your lobby, ate cookies, and drank coffee. That's all we did.
Well, let me respond to that, because it was not kumbaya when we first started here. So
nobody said there was, sir. What happened was your attorney came up and told us that we had been told about the time the meeting would start. But you said public comment, so you know. So it was not kumbaya, because your attorney came up to me. Your attorney came up to me and told me that we were there at the wrong time. I indicated to him that we had an email specifically telling us 9 a.m. He asked me if I had a copy of the email with me. I said I did not, but I would be happy to go to a computer and print it up, and he wouldn't let me do so. So the reason it was not kumbaya is because Mr. Hollenbeck came to me and told me to tell those people to leave, and I suggested to him that he talk to those people directly, and he would not do so. That, sir, is what you heard. There was no disruption of your meeting. Secondly, you indicated the resolution was passed to create an ad hoc committee. In point of fact, it was not. A suggestion was made to form an ad hoc committee. Then a resolution was passed to have a meeting of the whole. So your record should reflect how that got changed. We don't much care how you go about it, but I think that you need to be clear in your record keeping. With respect to the apology, as Ms. Jackson said, we don't need it. The senior citizens and the folks that came here needed an apology from this body. The mayor may not have been willing to do so, but you as a commission are responsible for what was indeed intimidation and harassment.
Good morning, Chairman Uran and members. Thank you for this opportunity. Successes and failures of any group or organization are the direct work product of its leadership. As noted this morning by one of the members, this organization has received awards, accolades, and recognition for its work, and that's the product, again, direct product of its leadership. The fact that decades have passed and tens of millions of dollars have been spent, and the face of public transportation hasn't changed at all over that period of time, that too is a product of its leadership. Thank you.
Bowser. I suppose that I stand by our record keeping. Mayor does a great job. So, if there's no other business, we're going to go right to our executive director.
Thanks. I truncated my comments last month, so I'll still keep it brief, but just to recap, we were involved in, NERC was involved in the Calumet Summit that took place over 2 days last month. Great spirit of cooperation across state lines, recognizing that ecosystem doesn't respect political boundaries, and so great cooperation between multiple parties across state lines, also between CMAP and NERC. NERC staff involved in that, a lot of folks in this room involved in it, so it was held at the Gary Marquette Pavilion. Everyone was extremely impressed with that facility, so great kudos for Gary for hosting that for folks from across the region. That also involved Lakeshore Public Media that was there. The radio did live interviews during the Calumet Summit, including me and the Blanket Horn. So there was a lot of good regional attention during that. We've also had spots on Lakeshore Public Television recently, and I was also on the Radio 1 Regional Newsmakers program, and spoke before the Lake County Advancement Committee. So there's been some real good public interaction over these past couple of months. We also sponsored, once again, the Asthma Awareness Night at the Gary South Shore Railcats game. They didn't win, but it was great fireworks, and I bought a hat. So I thought that was a good event. And got to the first pitch, which was a perk of this job that I didn't know I'd get to do, so I appreciated that.
Was it a strike?
It was close. It made it to the catcher, a little up and to the left, I think. Didn't bounce. Then also was happy to partake in the dedication of propane buses in the city of LaPorte. So kudos to LaPorte for those buses that are off and running. It's great for the city of LaPorte and great for the region to have those going. And also partnership with Ozinga's South Shore Clean Cities for a compressed natural gas event that just took place earlier this week, so to promote alternative fuels. So a lot's been happening. The NARC conference was already mentioned, coming up this next week that I'll be at with many on the executive board, the officers, and a Complete Streets workshop, mid-June 28th, Woodland Park, free event. Registration information is located on the website, so for more details on Complete Streets, you can go to that. Just a quick couple of notes regarding office operations. Thanks to the Finance and Personnel Committee this morning, we'll be closing the office on July 5th. So just to be aware of that, we won't have operations happening then in conjunction with the July 4th holiday that Thursday. That's a Friday. And then just FYI, there's a planned power outage tonight, so email will be essentially offline until sometime tomorrow morning. So if we go into a black hole, it's just a matter of resetting those servers, so you're aware of that. Last thing to mention is, as was alluded to earlier, Bill Brown is retiring after 30 years of dedicated service. It was however many meetings ago here at the commission that we awarded Bill with that 30-year certificate. It wasn't, he was clear about his intentions. It wasn't as just waiting into that 30 years. But this comes to an end on Thursday after a long and storied career, as you've heard from many already. And I hear it as I go across the region. Bill's contributions to NERC and to the state and his reputation as a modeler and transportation person has been exceptional. And so I want to publicly thank Bill. We don't have a gold watch, I'm sorry. But that's why Bill is actually retiring. And donations are accepted. So, I think we figured out Bill's attended something like 300 TPC meetings over the course of his career. So if you think about that, that's a lot of hours and a lot of involvement in what this organization does. So I just want to publicly thank Bill and express appreciation for his
Outstanding. With that being said,
if I could,
I was gonna go that way.
there is an IAC meeting in Hebron, town roundup. What is the date of that? Does anybody know right off the top of their head? The 9th. The 9th?
The 9th.
Yep.
July the 9th. I know it's at 6 p.m.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah.
The brochure stands by itself?
Oh, you guys can have it.
Very good. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor of that, aye? Aye.